By the way, remember this? This happened like 9 years ago. This was back on Friday. Missouri just trouncing Arkansas.
Feels like week 10, literally.
It does. 48-14. MIZ behind number 7. Cody Schrader was fantastic. Brady Cook was awesome. And my goodness, another solid win. Battle line rivalry for Missouri. And I want you to go through and take a listen to what Eli Drinkwitz had to say talking about his Missouri Tigers and kind of the credit they deserve to get right now.
You know, earlier in the week I heard a coach talk about being America's team. And you know, I don't know about all that conversation. They got so many different good things going for them, some good, some maybe they stole illegally. We're America's team. We're a team built on underdogs. We're a team built on young men with something to prove. We got a Division II transfer running back who's leading the SEC in rushing. We got a bunch of fighters. Our quarterback has been fighting his whole life to earn an opportunity to play the way he does. We got offensive linemen who just play for each other, tight ends, defensively. I mean, we're the story that people should be really proud to be behind.
America's team. I mean, listen, you talk about like middle America. It's like, hey, you've got the walk-on guy. I mean, much more so than kind of the elitist Michigan, who's had their head coach, suspended twice in the middle of the season.
Much more relatable, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
It's tremendous storylines as he kind of highlighted there, and I can get behind that. I mean, it's been a real joy to cover this Missouri team this year, and more than just a good story. Everybody has been talking about what Cody Schrader's been able to do, and Drink said it after the game, right? It's not a good story. It's a guy that's a great player, and this is a great team that has a really good quarterback, that has great weapons around that quarterback, that has a defense that's gotten better from where they were 2 years ago. Like there's so much to celebrate, and the jump from 6 wins to 10 wins this season. Like I could never have imagined that we'd be talking about the 3rd and 4th best teams in this conference being Missouri and Ole Miss, both of which accomplished the elusive 10-win seasons that are, if you think about it, how difficult it is to win that many games, particularly in this conference. It's a great achievement for Missouri and a great achievement for Ole Miss as well.
On the flip side right now, remember Hunter Yurachek telling Sam Pittman, hey, you're going to be back next year. I know a lot of fans not happy with that, but he has to find a way to right the ship over in Fayetteville.
Well, I like it's patience in an era where very few people have the willingness to wait for things to work out. Like
Missouri.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People were upset about the extension that was given to Eli Drinkwitz, a year ago or a year and a half ago, whenever that was?
The beginning of this season, yeah.
But how great of foresight was that to understand that you got a great person that fits that university really well, instead of like looking to the next best thing. Be appreciative for what you have.
I mean, think about it. Mike Norvell was on the hot seat over at FSU, and then they had patience with them.
It's worked out
really well. Jim Harbaugh went to the administration a couple of years ago and said, hey, I'll take less money if it means that I can stay on here and have an opportunity, and he's changed things around over in Michigan. So we'll see how it plays out with Sam Pittman out there in Fayetteville.
Which brings me to my next hot button topic of the day. The apparent return of Bobby Petrino to Arkansas.
Wow. Yeah, I saw that. Well, I mean, listen, we know this, that if the perception is that you can coach, they will find a reason to bring you back and to want you. And I will say, after the offensive abyss that, Arkansas fell into this year, you would think that anything with a rudder would be attractive. It's hard, I think, to evaluate Coach Petrino's return to the conference this year, because when you look at A&M, I think we all knew that he walked into a troubled situation, to put it lightly. And then you've got injury at quarterback, so that's destabilized almost immediately. 2 injuries, right? So you lose both the top 2 guys. It's just not an easy thing to transition into. And then, of course, you don't really get a full sample size, because to act like losing a head coach is not disruptive, or eventually losing a head coach is not disruptive, is a joke. So, the fact that he came back in a couple of years ago, I want to say he had returned to Little Rock. And
he spoke at the club there.
And it seemed...
They like him there.
They seem to love him. Yeah. And it seems mutual.
It does.
And he's not... I've only been around him a handful of times. he does not strike me as an effusive guy when it comes to emotion.
He's not. I mean, there's an old joke we used to use when I was a writer that you could spend a few minutes with that guy and catch a cold.
Well, I can see that. He's not an amiable guy, but I've never found him to be difficult either. Now you can see I could see how you're one sidelong glance away from probably feeling a little bit.
Well, the guy
concerned,
who coached for College Station could be difficult.
Yeah, you think? I think so. So this will be interesting. It's another one. What a fascinating marriage this will be. Now we talk about Jimbo Fisher, Bobby.
This is even more complex, I think, because you got a guy. Jimbo Fisher was really, he was in some trouble, but he wasn't hanging on as I think desperately as Sam is. Sam's in trouble.
I think
we're just being honest.
No, I think he probably knows. I mean, there's a reason why Hunter Yurachek said he didn't say anything beyond another season, right? I've not heard anything referenced beyond that. And I'm a Sam Pittman fan, so really hopeful that it works out. It's interesting. We've seen this movie before, where you don't make the right hires when you're forced to replace coordinators, especially, and that's what makes what Nick Saban has done, what Kirby has had to do in replacing these coordinators with the right people, and then recognizing early enough when they aren't the right people. You think about like a James Coley, good coach, not a coordinator, at least not at that point in time at Georgia. You got to pull the string. I hope that this proves to be the fit that Sam Pittman needs on offense.
The coaching hirings, though, did not come to an end after that. Arkansas making some moves to replace Dan Enos. Former A&M offensive coordinator Bobby Petrino has agreed to become the next OC at Arkansas, sources told ESPN on Tuesday. Now, of course, Petrino was formerly the head coach at Arkansas before being fired in 2012 in the wake of a scandal that all came to light after that motorcycle accident. Stinch, doesn't get more college football than this. What are your thoughts on bringing Petrino back to Fayetteville to call this offense?
Yeah, he was never, he was the guy that they asked him to leave the house, but he was kind of living in the porte cochere, right? He was attached to the house still. They didn't want him to go too far, right? He was a guy, yeah, that's right. He was in the guest quarters. They liked him a lot. Arkansas liked Bobby Petrino. I mean, and you could see why. He came there and he won. And then, of course, left under, inauspicious circumstances. But Coach Petrino, he went back there a couple of years ago, actually to Arkansas, made it a point to speak to some touchdown clubs, not only to thank the fan base, but to apologize for the way things went down. I think it makes total sense. I mean, of the hires, you think he was at UNLV briefly, right? Never coached a game, then goes to A&M. That was an interesting marriage, to say the least. But Sam Pittman needed to make a big hire, an important hire, no doubt. And offensively, he's a very respected offensive mind, and at a school where he's still very much revered. I think it's a good piece.
And it feels like if, you're going to use Twitter to measure anything, that Arkansas fans feel really excited about this one based off of what we saw from the Hogs last time. As we said, Coach Petrino was in town.
And look who's back in town. The boys are back. Bobby Petrino back where it all began, back in Fayetteville. So I've been trying to figure out how Bobby Petrino ended up in Arkansas. And I remembered about a year and a half ago being the guest of our next guest, speaking at the Little Rock Touchdown Club. And I think it was, I'll let David Basil remind me when it was, but I think last season or very, very recently, Bob Petrino was the guest speaker, and he wowed everyone over. So David, I'm pretty sure that was the beginning of this. Good afternoon, and tell us all about it.
Yeah, Paul, what a 24 hours. I mean, I'm telling you, it was. I've been around. I played back in the early '80s, so I've been here 40 years, and I've covered with the media the football team for 25 years, maybe a little bit longer. I've never seen a flip of a fan base from angry, misery, zero hope to hope. It's remarkable. I've never seen social media explode like it has in this state. People who you don't even have to care about football. When you go to the store today, you were talking about, did you hear the news that Bobby Petrino was coming back? Just the fact that you mentioned the circumstances of how he left, to think, and we brought him back. You mentioned the touchdown club. I reached out to him through a friend to say, would you mind coming back in 2019? He had not been back to Arkansas since the accident and since he'd been fired, which was 2012. So we came back 2019 and really, I think changed a lot of perceptions about him. He got up, he got emotional and said, I apologize. I did not want it to end the way it did. It was my fault. I take responsibility. But he said, I also want to say thank you because you treated my family wonderfully. You guys are very special and got a standing ovation. And listen, I know there's cynics out there and it is what it is, but I think that started that reconnection with fans. And of course, a lot of fans, Paul, there were some fans that didn't even want to see him get fired after what happened. But for all the things to fall in place for him to get back here is really remarkable.
Well, I think that there's so many tributaries here, but David, the most important, he was a great football coach when he was at the University of Arkansas, and it hasn't really been very good since.
Yeah, Paul, it's sort of like the girl you get to date in high school. You fall in love with a girl, and you just get to know her, and you're thinking of all the potential, and then she moves away, and you never get to see what could have been. And that's been this fascination with this fan base about Bobby Petrino. I think this fan base.
Hold on a second. She doesn't just move away. She moves away because she's having a relationship with one of your friends, and then she has to move away.
That's a good point. Well said. That's really right. Regardless of the circumstances, you still wonder what could have been. And if you think about it, Paul, so I'll get you're a historian of college football to a certain degree. You've been around a while. Can you name me, there have been 3 coaches in the history, over 100-year history of Razorback football who have won 11 games? Can you name them?
Well, I think we could start with Frank Broyles.
Frank Broyles is 1.
Bobby Petrino.
Bobby Petrino is 2. And the other coach, Paul, this is the interesting trivia. If you ever the only other NFL coach, college coach, who spent only 13 games in the NFL, along with Urban Meyer and Bobby Petrino, Lou Holtz.
Oh, my goodness. I forgot about Lou.
Yes. So Lou Holtz was 13 games with the Jets, comes back, ends up at Arkansas, wins 11 games. That's what Bobby Petrino did. Back-to-back years in 2010, 2011, he won 21 games. And as you mentioned, you haven't seen that success since. And so this fan base has always said, can we get Bobby back? Can we get Bobby back? Even with the circumstance. And I had heard, Paul, last week, I had heard that Bobby had expressed interest to some of his close friends in Arkansas that he'd be interested in the job. And so once that happened, there were communication to Northwest Arkansas that, hey, just to let you know, Coach Petrino's interested if there would be, mutual interest. The other part of that, as you know, you had to get board approval. And my understanding is even last week, the board said, if that's what you want to do. Now, they hadn't voted on it formally, but I think discussions have been held to say, if you want to pursue that, you'll have our blessing when it comes to it. And I didn't think I just didn't know if it would happen or not, Paul. You started hearing a lot of other names. And all of a sudden yesterday, it's there. And I think one of the things that expedited that, this is just my opinion, after Missouri, this program, the perception by fans and everybody that here in the state was this program was going in the wrong direction quickly. I mean, pushing this sort of that Chad Morris feel. Everybody loves Sam Pittman, wants him to succeed. And I think both Sam and Hunter looked at that, and maybe they didn't want to go that direction. Maybe originally, I don't know, maybe along the whole time they did. But I think they made a wise move in the fact that I've never seen a move energize a base that was so angry. I mean, I do 20 hours of live radio a week, Paul, and it's just been after that blow up by Auburn, blow up by Missouri, both at home. It was going to be a rocky, ugly offseason. And now it is HOPE. Whether you like the history or not, the fans are back in, and it's on fire now.
Okay, Baz, you know me pretty well. And we're talking to David Basil, former captain at Arkansas, one of the most influential voices, if not the most influential in the state. And I mentioned your club. I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but you bring in a guy who was, at the time he left Arkansas, one of the elite coaches in the SEC, maybe right behind Nick Saban. Or you could argue he was the second best coach when he left behind Saban. You retain a coach who is slipping and sliding the program back to Chad Morris land. Why do you keep Sam Pittman? Why don't you just say, sorry, Sam, we changed our mind, and Bob Petrino's going to be the head coach?
I think that's a fair question, Paul. I think most of the Arkansas fans felt that when he had Barry Odom, even though the defenses weren't super successful with Barry Odom, that Barry Odom and Kendall Briles were a good balance with Sam. And maybe with Dan Enos, you didn't have that as much this year. The defense was better. I just feel like I think the fan base felt like if Sam could get the right coordinators, he won 9 games his second year. And I think Sam Pittman resonates and connects with Arkansas fans. He fits. He was born in raised in Oklahoma, around the border, and so I think most fans, want him to succeed. I really do. I think, and that's why I think making this move was a cagey, smart move. Maybe not the one they had originally wanted, but it is a smart move. And I think that fans will rally around Sam. You get the right players in, Paul. You get the right coaches, assistants. I've done the Brewers work for 28 years. You get good assistants in, they make a difference. I have no idea where this is going to go. This could be a train wreck. Could be not successful. But all I know is this right now. I think
so. And I'm not talking about the spin part of this, but how much it just seems from a distance, Baz, you're there. This was forced down Sam Pittman's throat as a means of survival.
I can't say that it was. Listen, we talked with Houston Nutt today, and when Coach Broyles used to be an influence, when hey, you need to hire this assistant coach. I have no idea. I think Hunter Yurachek, Sam Pittman is Hunter Yurachek's guy. So I think Hunter probably had that discussion to say, when Hunter stepped out there, Paul, and said he's our guy, Hunter is with Sam in this deal. I mean, Hunter's part of this deal, and he knows it. And so I think they were probably a frank discussion between the both of them. I think he would have followed Sam's, his opinion. But I really do. I think Hunter would have said, Sam, who do you want to go after? There are other coordinators that may be younger, not as well known, but there are certainly upsides of bringing in Bobby Petrino. And it was sort of like, bringing in Mike Anderson back when Nolan had left, and there was a connection to the past. Again, these fans remember the Ron Mallett years, the Tyler Wilson years, the Sugar Bowl, the BCS Bowl, 11 wins, beating LSU, all those things, going toe-to-toe with Alabama. And I think, Hunter and Sam, and listen, Sam has been around as long as Bobby has, Paul. They're both in their early 60s. They've been coaching for 40 years. So I think Sam looked at it and said, hey, listen, we can make this work. I know what Bobby can do. It'll be interesting. We thought it would be interesting down at College Station. So I don't know. Maybe you do say it's desperation. I don't know. I'd say it's a pretty smart move if you look what's happened in this state in the last 24 hours.
Well, especially when you consider the mood of the state after the Missouri game. David Basil, always great to have you with us. We'll stay in touch.
We go to some coaching news now, as Arkansas will have a familiar face back on their coaching staff. And Bobby Petrino has agreed to become the next offensive coordinator at Arkansas. Petrino was working as the OC at Texas A&M, but he was not retained by the new staff. He was formerly the head coach at Arkansas, but was fired in 2012 in the wake of a scandal that came to light after a motorcycle accident. So we bring in Pete Thamel now for more on this. And Pete, how did this all come about?
Well, it's a fantastic full circle moment, Kelsey, only in college football. It came about basically because Arkansas was really bad on offense. Sam Pittman made a bad hire. He hired Dan Enos, realized it was a bad hire in October. The Hogs ended up finishing 13th in the country in offense, and he went back to Bobby Petrino. Obviously, Petrino's record at Arkansas was excellent. He went to back-to-back high-profile bowl games when he was there. The interesting tension here will be, does Petrino still have the magic as a play caller? Texas A&M's offense was in the bottom half of the SEC last year. They finished 8th. Can he go get Arkansas's offense going? I've been told by sources that he's looking in the portal for a dual-threat quarterback to try to revive the last time he was truly elite on offense, and that was with Lamar Jackson at Louisville.
A lot happening in the SEC right now and a big coaching hire there as he returns to Arkansas. Pete Thamel with the latest here on College Football Live.
Will walk us through maybe the timeline of how Coach Petrino, when he first popped up on your radar, and just kind of how this all unfolded over the last week or so.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to interview him and I wanted to talk to him. And I think one of the things that I said in one of my criteria that I wanted was a man who loved the University of Arkansas and it'd be hard to find someone that felt stronger towards Arkansas than Coach Petrino. And so obviously the next step is to talk to the athletic director about that. I interviewed several guys, 5 guys for the job, and Coach was very excited about coming back to Arkansas. And then once I knew his interest back in us, it was really a no-brainer at that point in time. And then it was just all about making the contract and the timeline and all those things work.
It was a little bit of a unique hire, and that required special approval and everything like that. Just I know that the chancellor said y'all did your due diligence and everything like that. I was wondering if you could provide some insight on what that process looked like, the due diligence and everything like that.
That part of it, I think that's with Hunter and those guys. I wanted to hire him. I know he's a good man. Hell, we all make a mistake, and I wanted to hire him. He was the best candidate. He's a wonderful person, and I was adamant I wanted to hire him, and he was adamant he wanted to come. So the university went to work on all that kind of stuff.
I was curious, Coach. I'm sure we all are on timeline when it popped in your head that maybe I'll give Bobby Petrino a call or see if that's a possibility. What point?
To be honest with you, I got a text from his agent that he would have interest, and then that was where the timing was correct or right because of the Texas A&M and all that kind of stuff. And but I think it was probably a 10-day process, something like that, before the time I first started talking to guys until Coach was able to get here.
After the Missouri game, we talked about momentum with NIL, big splash OC hire and stuff. Did you have it in your head then that this was a possibility, and was it kind of by design to have the NIL Arkansas edge and Petrino announced kind of the same day?
Well, I think you're always thinking of ways to get the fan base. I think you're always thinking, and obviously when you lose a lot of close games and you don't finish the season like you'd like to, I think your mind goes back to, okay, how can we continue to get the fans involved and things? So I think there's always an order of how you do things and all that, and we're probably not done yet.
I want to ask what you thought of in terms of hiring Bobby, like how much you might lean on him in situations, timeouts, things like that, because of his vast experience doing the same thing.
I think any time that you have somebody on your staff that's been a head coach and a successful head coach, you always go over situations and you go back and forth and talk about, okay, you're watching tape, okay, what will we do here? What will we do here? What do you think in this, that, and other? I did that with Barry a lot as well, because he had SEC experience, and obviously congratulations to him. They're playing the championship game. Just really happy for him. But it's not just that. It's a daily basis of having somebody in there that's been through it, and you just run things by and visit about it, and then try to do what you think's the best decision for the team.
Aside from the success he's had here at Arkansas, what have you seen at some of his more recent stops that you made him kind of the desirable candidate for you?
Well, they about beat us out here at Missouri State. 4th and 1, he throws a touchdown pass on us, or 3rd and 1. I can't remember. I think it was 4th and 1. You had to ask him. I tried to put it out of my mind. He's Bobby Petrino, man, and he's a wonderful mind, and he loves the state of Arkansas. He's a wonderful play caller, great guy, and I want to win here as bad as anybody any of y'all, and that was what I thought would be the best for us to win.
You were at the basketball game last night. You heard the student section chanting his name. You knew maybe what type of popularity he'd be walking back into here?
Well, I was hoping so. I mean, it was wonderful. I mean, you had the BMFP shirts, made, and I think Coach asked one of the guys, "What's that stand for?" If we were having trouble figuring that out. No, it was my suggestion to go over the Duke game. I want to show him off too. Now, I mean, I'm proud that he came here, and we got a lot of work to do. We want to get over there and support the basketball team. And man, what a heck of a game they played! Congratulations to them. I text Muss, and it was a great. It's been a great few days for the state of Arkansas, in my opinion.
And Coach, of course, there's fans who maybe are concerned or who do not agree with the second chance opportunity. What's your message to them?
Well, you're going to have people don't agree with a lot of things in life, and my message is that we're doing the best we possibly can do for the state of Arkansas and the University of Arkansas. But if every decision I make or everything that I'm done, I'm worried about how it's going to be received, then I'm not being true to myself. And to me, this was the best hire for our university, our program, and our state. And so I'm going to stand very firm behind that. And if people don't like it, I'm sorry.
Sam, do you anticipate any other staff changes on your coaching staff?
Yeah, I do. I think there'll be some, but I'm not ready to talk about it. But I don't think we'll be intact totally next season.
And will Bobby have full control of the offense? I know at A&M it was kind of a mix of what Jimbo did or whatever.
I don't know that, but he's offensive coordinator, and just like KB was, just like Dan Enos was, he's got a job to do, and I don't know how I can allow him to do a job if he's not. It ain't his offense. So we hired him because he's a brilliant offensive mind, and it's his offense. That's just what it is, just like it was Kendall Browse, just like it was Dan's. I'm always going to have input on what my feelings are of things, but he's offensive coordinator, and that's what he's hired to do.
Same when it came to letting the recruits know that he was going to be your guy. Did you reach out to them? Did you have Bobby call them himself? Just how did that process go? And what's been the reception on the recruiting trail?
Well, I mean, we was trying to keep it quiet, but I was in on all these player evals and leaving and all that, and we was trying to keep it quiet. So y'all let him know, that he was coming back, which always happens, by the way. I'm not being negative there, it just happens. So I was getting a lot of calls. I didn't have to call them. I was getting a lot of calls, and there was a lot of excitement about it. But we didn't have to worry about calling the kids. They were calling us.
I know the roster is still pretty fluid at this moment, but KJ specifically, do you think, does this maybe hold some weight with him? And would you like to have him come back and have the opportunity to play for Bobby?
I'd rather not really answer that out of respect for KJ and things of that nature, but KJ's given to the university, good years and set a lot of records and things of that nature, and whatever he wants to do, we'll be supportive of it.
Any more questions for Coach? Okay. Go ahead, Jay. When you pick up the phone to talk to him, I'm just curious, like, what's the emotion? Do you feel, I don't know, do you got like heat in your back of your neck, or you just calm and collected? Like, what is like your internal feeling when you're calling Bobby Petrino about the job? What's the you get a pit in your stomach? I don't know.
I don't know. No, well.
Is it just cool? Hey, brother, what's up?
No. First time or two, I didn't FaceTime him, and after that I did, But I was trying to be honest with you. I was just trying to find the best man for the job, and in my opinion, I did. And so that's all I was trying to do.
Does this allow you also, I don't know this day and age, because it's the same with Kendall and Dan, as you said, in terms of them handling the offense, but your job has changed so much just in terms of I mean, you're almost like a GM.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. You obviously feel that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Arkansas Edge is, whatever the name is it for everybody else. I think that's changed a lot of your head coaching responsibilities, and more than that, time. Whether it's raising the money or trying to figure out, where different guys, are going to be able to set in the NIL and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I think just a lot more time, and obviously, we have guys that, come in going into the portal, and you're not going to talk them out of it, but simply because they've already been poached by somebody else and told the finances and everything else. We do not do that here. We don't, but it happens all the time, and NCAA at some point has to put some type of penalties on people that are poaching players, because it's going around the country everywhere. We're not. So that puts a lot more time into the portal. You got to go D2 portal, junior college portal, the 1AA portal, BCS portal, and then you've got to go with obviously the portal in Division I. So there's just a lot of time that happens in recruiting, and you can imagine this, Trey, that the portal opens up in December, it opens up in April. So you have two opportunities for someone to poach financially your players. And so that's why it was so important for us to get the Arkansas Edge.
Sam, I know I've heard ADs and coaches talk before, like they've always kind of got a list of coaches in mind that if a position ever came open that they might be interested in them. I'm wondering if, having faced him at Missouri State and having to scheme against him, did that ever cross your mind, like, hey, if I ever had the opportunity, I might want to have him work for me?
I'll be honest, it really didn't. I think the first time that it really did was when I got a text, from his agent. And I was assuming that if I got a text from his agent that there was some interest there, as well. And so I just picked up the phone, and I don't know if I had hair raised on the back of my neck or not, but I think I just picked up the phone and we visited, So, once I figured we could do the deal, then the closer that I thought we could get to doing it, the more excited I have about, more excitement I had about it. And the bottom line is we need to win games, and I thought that was the best possible way we could do it.
As far as exit interview goes, how far along would you say you are percentage-wise? And that's got to be like each guy a great meeting, a bad meeting. It's got to be very up and down for you. About emotions.
I was done I was through it. We had a recruiting meeting at 2:00 this afternoon. I was done about 1:55, and I'm completed. So we went Monday, Tuesday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and today, and got through all, however many it was, maybe 100 guys or whatever it was, a little bit more. And so we're through. And you talk about the portal and all this kind of stuff. I feel really good about where we're at on the football team. But obviously things can change simply because of the fluidity with phone calls to talking to coaches and all this kind of stuff. So we got a great university, a great situation here. Arkansas Edge is helping us tremendously. And we want to keep the guys, obviously, on the team that we want to keep. But we can't if they don't want to, but that's why the portal's open, and we'll go out and replace them.
That's one thing.
Coach, take us back to the brief conversation y'all had right after that game out here. And if there's ever been conversations like at conventions with you and Coach Petrino, and if there's any relationship that kind of goes back through the years.
To be honest with you, there's a hell of a lot of respect from me for him. And the communication, I don't know, Coach may remember something different, but I think the first time I really spoke to him was when Missouri State was out here. And at that time, I told him that I was grateful for him and thankful for him because we had used everything that he had done here in recruiting, and it was helping us. And I told him that I appreciate him for that. And I can't recall what was said after the game, to be honest with you, but I believe, unless he remembers a different time, I believe that was really the time we had spoke.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Welcome back. I was curious about the phone call from Coach Pittman, how that went with you, and your agent reached out first. Is that still Russ Campbell? I know that was 12 years ago.
No, actually, my agent is Christina Phillips, and she didn't tell me about that. I just learned that today. So, but I appreciate her. You know, she reached out to me when I was at Missouri State, and she said, "Hey, let's get you back in the game." And I said, "Christina, I think I'm just happy doing what I am right now." And she was on me about, "Nah, you can't do that. We'll work at it. It might take us a while, but we'll keep going." And she convinced me, "Okay, let's work at it and see if we can get back in the game." And it's been a process, but it's a lot of credit to her.
Listen to you on the podcast this morning that you did. You've been going through, looking at players, looking at film and stuff. You seen anything that's jumped out specifically, any players or anything like that?
Yeah, I haven't been able to get into it enough, just because also looking at recruits and anticipating portals, and but I've been able to watch some of the individual players, and then I've had guys come in and talk to me, and the names start going, "Who's that now? Who is that again? Who is that again?" So, but it's a process, and did have a good meeting yesterday with the offensive group as a whole, and that was fun. I enjoyed it.
Now that you're back in the game, any trepidation coming back here, and just what do you want to do? What do you want to get done here the next few years of your life?
I want to win. I want to see us. I came back here to support Coach Pittman in winning. I appreciate him a lot. When he did send that message that this is Coach Pittman, I'd like to talk to you. The hair on the back of my neck stood up. I was like, that's going to happen, really? And then we talked for a short amount of time, and he said that he had an interest, and we set a time to talk where we both had time later on. And that was exciting. I felt, hey, maybe this is really going to happen. Could it possibly happen? I talked to my family and stuff that could possibly work. And then we had a great talk, great conversation. I think it was over an hour some, maybe longer than that. And then when I got off the phone, I said, "Man, he didn't offer me the job." I was a little bit, surprised about that. I thought, man, maybe I need to do a better job interviewing again. So, but it was a process he was going through and taking his time, and I was just anxious to talk to him again.
So your offense at A&M last year, how much of it was you? And then you got to see Arkansas in Arlington. What'd you think of what was going on and the personnel Arkansas has?
Yeah, that's a loaded question there, but. When I took the job at A&M, Jimbo wanted to keep the same terminology and call things the same way they did. It was hard. It was hard on me. I was staying up all night. I can remember the first scrimmage. I was up at 2 a.m. in the morning. Woke up at 2 a.m. in the morning to get ready to call plays for the first scrimmage. Just understanding what the terminology was, what the formation was, and it was it was not only calling the plays different, but the formations, the way they called the formation is probably different than anybody else that I've ever been around. Normally you call the strength where your tight end's going to align, and there it's where your slot receiver is going to align. So just getting the connection to be able to do that was very difficult, but worked hard at it, and I thought we had a pretty good year. We went through a couple quarterbacks, which was hard, but I really enjoyed it. I think that's the one thing that when that happened, when Jimbo lost his job, but I thought I want to still coach. just because how much I enjoyed being in the classroom with the quarterbacks, spending time with the offense, just coaching football, teaching. It was fun being back in the meeting room and teaching. I started getting in this profession as a teacher, so it was really fun to get back and do that.
Reading some of the quotes that have come out since you accepted the job, you've talked about always wanting to come back and this being a dream. I'm just curious, was there ever a time since you left where maybe there was some anger towards this place, and when did that anger maybe turn into a desire to return?
No, there never was any anger at all. I was always a Hogs fan. I watched, people would ask me, are you going to watch the game? Are you going to watch them play? And I watched as many games as I could. I cheered for them. I rooted for them. Love the players.
Coach, I know you returned to the Little Rock Touchdown Club a few years back, and it was well received and everything. But could you have ever imagined at that time? You said you always loved the Hogs. Could you have imagined getting this opportunity to come back and coach like this?
Well, like I said, I thought about it and dreamed about it, and I didn't know if it would ever happen. So certainly, I can't tell you how excited I am to be back here. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I truly do love Arkansas, the university and the state and the people. I think it's the most special place I've ever been.
And you mentioned getting to kind of see some of the individual players that Arkansas has on the roster. I know it's still a fluid situation, but given your history, I was wondering about if you had any particular thoughts on the quarterbacks that Arkansas has here, Jacoby Criswell, Malachi Singleton, if you've had a chance to look at them and see what you thought about them.
Yeah, I've had a chance to watch their video and see, some of their practice video, some of their game video, and see things that they can do. And obviously, you like the talent that you see there, arm strength and mobility and different things they can do. You really don't know a lot until you get out on the practice field and start practicing with them. So we'll look forward to that. And the rules are of such now where we have time to meet with them when we come back from Christmas and get in the classroom with them. So it'll be fun to see how much they understand about the game of football.
Bobby, last night 20,000 people yelling your name. I mean, how does that make you feel?
It was exciting. Yeah, I felt good about it. And again, I got to say it's a credit to Sam, to be able to bring me there and allow that to go on. I think it's just a credit to him. You can see the confidence that he has in himself as a man, and how much he loves the university and wants to do what he believes is best for us to go forward to win. Is a real credit to him.
Been over 10 years. How are you different now than you were in 2011?
Yeah, everybody's different, that, and you're different than you were back then. So hopefully I've grown as a coach, as a teacher, as a husband, as a father. I believe totally that I have, but hopefully I'm better tomorrow than I am today.
Bobby, I remember going to the groundbreaking for the Smith Center. I think it was maybe a Friday before a home game, but you never got to get in that building. I assume you've been in there now. Just kind of, what's your thoughts on that building and finally getting to work in there?
Yeah, it was fun to walk through it and see it. And yesterday I took my own tour, I guess. Rounded up one of the young guys and said, hey, take me through the building here and show me it around. So it was exciting to see it. They certainly did a good job with it, and it'd be fun to start working in there.
And have you decided if you're going to be on the field or in the press box?
I haven't even thought about it. You guys are way ahead of me.
Coach, you talked about having to learn new terminologies. Sam going to turn you loose on you call
yeah,
it
what we talked
want?
about was be able to come in and run the offense and put the offense in and do that. And one of the things I've learned throughout my career is that you utilize everybody and you try to get everybody's input. And certainly I want to see the assistant coaches have their input. And when I interviewed with Coach, we talked about certain things. If he walked in the room and asked me about this, asked me about that. What do I think about that? And I'd say, well, I'd welcome it. There's a reason he's known as the best offensive line coach in America. And, if he has certain thoughts that he wants to do on short yardage and goal line, I communicated to him that when I was calling plays at Arizona State, Bruce Snyder ran short yardage and goal line. That's what he wanted to do. That was something he was very, very proud of and very, very fond of. And, it's if Coach wants us to do something on short yardage and goal line or third down, we're definitely gonna work on doing it. And I think that's how it has to work. That's how it goes. He's the head coach, and we're gonna do as much as we can to keep him satisfied and happy. And as an assistant, what you try to do is keep the head coach happy, and not chewing you out. So that's one of my goals. Let's make sure he's not chewing me out every day.
This is not football, so tell me about Northwest Arkansas. You look forward to hitting some balls in the bushes at Blessings or Beaver Lake. What goes through your mind that I'm back in Arkansas?
I got a lot to learn, man. I can't even find my way around. It's changed. It's really changed. The roads are a little bit different. The way you get places are a little bit different. I drove up in front of this building right here, and I'm like, wow, they redid that too. So first thing I got to do is find out where I'm at. Definitely like going to the lake. That's something that we've always enjoyed as a family and love to do. And it's on my bucket list to be able to slalom when I'm 70. So I've got to keep working on that, make sure I'm in good enough shape to be able to. I don't get up anymore on one, to be honest with you. I get up on two and drop, just because it's so hard to grind to get up on one. And nobody skis anymore. My kids have totally went away from me, and they don't ski. They surf and wakeboard, and I don't even see the fun in that. You go so darn slow. I don't know how it's fun, but I'm still gonna water ski. I've lost a lot of balls at Blessings, so maybe if I get to play that sometime, I'll find a few of them that I left out there.
I have to drop a ski too, man. So,
well, I don't have to. I choose to.
Oh, okay.
I'm kidding.
I can't get up on one. Your signaling. I wonder what you thought of the signaling, sign stealing flap this year, and how that apply to you, maybe, or how what's the future of signaling as well? Do you think helmet devices are?
Yeah, I think that they should have done that a long time ago. And I don't know anything about Michigan and what they did or any of that. I honestly didn't pay any attention to it. But I do know when you went and played Clemson that they were going to have your signals. They had guys on the sideline standing there with the sheet of paper with your signals on it, and that was tough. And the SEC and the ACC and have talked for years about putting the piece in the ear, and one of the issues that you always have in the NCAA is everybody has a vote. So there's a lot of schools that play football that can outvote the major conferences that don't have the money for that technology to be in their helmets. So that's why they got to do something about it. But it's become more and more relevant throughout the years that I've been in about people stealing signals and calling defenses and offenses that way.
Speaking of money, your thoughts on Arkansas Edge and how that might help you in the portal and things like that.
Yeah, I got some reading up to do on that. I've been kind of in a whirlwind, so I haven't even been able to check up. I know Coach told me that he was excited about the new NIL deal that's going on, and at A&M, the assistant coaches knew nothing. We weren't involved in any part of the NIL. I didn't know what anybody on the team got or didn't get. So I haven't paid enough attention to it yet. I got some work to do.
I remember that 08 LSU game where you guys threw deep in a short yardage situation, and you were like, well, this is the last time their corners are going to be cheated up on us. And you've always kind of done stuff like that, like maybe not even so much just about the plays that you're calling, just about when you call them and your feel and stuff. What has changed the most about your offense since you were here last?
I honestly don't think a lot has changed, simply because I don't think it's about plays. I don't think it's about what you do. I think it's about how you use the players that you have. How you get the ball to a Jarius Wright, Joe Adams, You know, how you get the ball to Dennis Johnson and how you work, you know, the different situations of the game. And so what I love to do is utilize players and then be really good at the situations of the game. And the players really understand, you know, what we're going to see in 3rd and short, what we're going to see in 4th and short, and what we're going to see in the red zone, or what blitzes they run from the 15-yard line in, and get everybody on the same page, and then practice the heck out of it. And then when you're on the left hash, 35-yard line, 1st and 10, you want to take a shot at the end zone. Everybody knows what we've done, what coverage we expect, and then what to do if we don't get that coverage. You know, or what are you going to do on 4th and 1, left hash, you know, game on the line. We ran the ball the previous 2 times, and got knocked right in the mouth, so let's give us a little play action in there and see if we can get it. So I kind of like to really work on situations and players.
We saw your messages after Ryan Mallett's passing, and I know you loved him. And I always remember also people used to say that Ryan Mallett was the perfect quarterback for your system. And then you went to Louisville and you had Lamar Jackson, and I was thinking, well, what's Lamar Jackson then? What kind of quarterback do you like? I mean, and Tyler Wilson was a different quarterback for you. What type of system, quarterback, I guess, in your system would you like to have the most?
Yeah, I mean, Ryan was pretty perfect because Ryan was as smart as you could possibly be. He understood the game. He understood his players around him. He understood when you made a call what you were thinking. He was really a guy that you could anticipate what he was going to do. You know, when you saw the coverage and the play called, he would probably go the way he did in practice. You know, Lamar was the same way. You know, Lamar was a guy that really studied the game plan, really knew what he wanted to do, what we wanted to do as a staff. Both of them could get you out of a bad play. You know, you're not always going to hit the call as a play caller, and you can be really, really aggressive when your quarterback can come out there and say, oh, yeah, this play action isn't going to work because they're blitzing 2 guys off the left side, and change the play or the protection for you. And that's what those guys allowed you to do. You could just, you know, call it up and have a lot of freedom in your thoughts of being aggressive. And then if it wasn't worth a darn, they can get you out of it and get from a bad play into a good play. And the freedom they give you as a play caller really helps.
2 more, Brett. Coach, I noticed I couldn't help. You got a little emotional when you're asked about why this is like a dream. And you said you love this state. Expand on that. Why is that? Why is that? It's obviously more than just a job, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, you know, the relationships that I was able to have and make and then even continue after I left, you know, was something that's always been special.
Obviously, you know that some people are concerned and say maybe you don't deserve a second chance with the university. What do you do? I've been told winning cures all ills, but it seems like there's more than that. What do you say to that?
Yeah, you know, I'm kind of on the I'm not really sure what words to use on it, but my beliefs are that it's okay for people to disagree, have different thoughts, have different opinions. There's no ad will to it. Nobody should have that. You know, I grew up where this is in the United States of America, and everybody can have their own thoughts, their own religion, their own feelings on everything. And you know what? That's okay. We don't have to do anything about it. There isn't going to be anything done about it. That's just how it is. And I think that's one of the greatest things about a football team is guys come from everywhere, every different walks of life, different colors, different religions. And then you come together and you love each other and you go out and compete hard together and give each other a chance to win. So I don't have any ill feelings towards anybody that disagrees, or I just wish it was that way for everybody.
Last one, John. Top priority, winning.
You know, winning is the end result. Winning is the end result of doing everything right. So the top priority is to teaching the players, teaching them not only the playbook, but how to compete, how to be tough, how to have passion. It's different now than it used to be because you have a shorter window to do it. with the NIL and the transfer portal and all that, you used to be able to build it for a year, 3 years, and, that's what we had. We had those guys that were together, grew up as little kids, got beat up on when they were freshmen. I remember Joe Adams saying, they're just not beating us, they want to kill us. And 2 years later, he was like, that's what we're going to do to everybody. But now you don't have that window. Now you got to do it in a shorter period of time. So it's just a different challenge that you have to attack.
Coach, so a lot of the former players that you had here at Arkansas post on social media, they're all excited and approved. Have you had any comments, text messages from former players that are here, and what have those comments and conversations been like?
Yeah, I've had a lot. So it's pretty cool. It was fun when we came here and played. I got into the locker room, and all of a sudden I got out of the shower, and there's Joe Adams and Colby Hamilton standing there. I said, how did you guys get in here? They snuck in the locker room to say hello. So it's been pretty cool.
Coach, appreciate you.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, we're going to start out here with Bobby Petrino, hired at Arkansas as offensive coordinator. If you don't remember, Bobby Petrino was there for 4 seasons, record of, I believe, 34-17 during his time there as head coach. I want to get you guys' reaction to hearing Bobby Petrino at Arkansas. Is this the right move for Sam Pittman? How does this improve things for Arkansas going forward?
Well, I've heard Arkansas fans in the past talk about, hey, we'd love to have Coach Petrino back. I don't think I ever could have imagined it as an offensive coordinator, but I think he's done a nice job of really humbling himself. To go to Texas A&M as an offensive coordinator under Jimbo Fisher, it feels like almost a step back in a way after being such a successful head coach, but being understanding of this is what I want to do at this point in my life, and being willing to do something that may be a little out of the norm is certainly something that I acknowledge. And then going to the school where you had so much success. I mean, they were rolling when he was the head coach there. They were probably the biggest threat to Alabama in the West at the time when he was in Fayetteville.
It's a decade ago, but you have to look no further than when that tweet came out, ring the bell, welcome back Coach Bobby Petrino. If you look at Bud Walton Arena, which was rocking when they beat Duke earlier this week, and they announced Bobby Petrino there, the place went wild. Hog fans are fired up again. And to say the way that they ended that season in one of the, it felt like a little Chad Morrissey, at the end of this year, especially at all those games and how bad they played in Fayetteville. To have this type of momentum with Bobby Petrino coming back, I think it's huge for him. Now, real quick on this, I thought Greg Sankey was asked about this yesterday. I thought he brought up a good point. He goes, well, why was I not getting all these questions about Bobby Petrino's return when he came back to the conference at A&M? Like, why is it at Arkansas? Yeah. Obviously, it's because when you think Arkansas football, it's the picture of him in the neck brace. It's all of this. But at the end of the day, Sam Pittman is a coach that knew desperate times calls for desperate measures. And I would have loved to see what this A&M offense would have been like with Connor Wegman the entire season. Yeah. But we saw some flashes where you're thinking, okay, this could be a difference maker, and they're going to need that in Fayetteville.
Yeah, I think, as I acknowledge the humility that Coach Petrino has shown in going to Texas A&M as a coordinator, going back to Fayetteville as a coordinator, there's also some humility, I think, involved in Sam Pittman's decision, too, to say, hey, this guy was a legendary coach here. I'm not threatened by the idea of him coming back and maybe taking away some of the focus on what I'm doing as the head coach or the leader of this program. And how much did we talk early in the offseason this year about, there's going to be fireworks between Jimbo Fisher and Bobby Petrino, they're going to butt heads. Like, there was never any sort of incident that we ever heard of, any sort of disagreement where the guys weren't on the same page. And I think that's a credit to Coach Petrino, again, for understanding his role and what he can come and enhance the program now in Fayetteville.
It gets done quickly, obviously, because of the transfer portal beginning to open. We've seen names, and including KJ Jefferson's name was rumored to be in there, and then KJ was took to social media. He's like, no, hey, I haven't made my decision yet, because we talked about that with a lot of quarterbacks right now and just players. It's not only, guys recruiting 18, 17-year-old kids to come out and play as freshmen. You're re-recruiting your rosters, especially when there's coaching changes.
Well, especially when you hear news from the news that Matt Rule makes when he said a good transfer portal quarterback goes for $1.5 to $2 million. Like that would probably have a lot of players that are of the same caliber of KJ Jefferson thinking about
dipping their toes into it right there.
So let's do it one final time. Last year of the 4-team playoff, and we haven't had this much anticipation since the first year in 2014 when Ohio State, Baylor, TCU were fighting for one spot, and there are 4 teams for 2 spots, it would appear today. The rankings are in. Brandon has put them into the Viz graphics machine, and we are about to unveil who will be in the college football playoff for the 2023 season. It is presented by AT&T. The final rankings from the selection committee, the number one team in the country is, we're seeing these when you do, and it's Michigan. There was some thought, because Washington has a couple more wins against the top 25, that maybe the Huskies would move into that spot. But the Wolverines, we assume, will go to the Rose Bowl. The semifinals are in the Rose Bowl and in the Sugar Bowl on New Year's Day, the perfect setting for the semifinals. And the Wolverines are going for the third straight year. They're 13-0. There's Jim Harbaugh. Who's got it better than you, Jimmy? Determined, resolute, probably. Oh, I don't see any whole milk there, just orange juice. Diet Coke. Who's number two? We assume it will be the Washington Huskies. And it is indeed. What a job. Kalen DeBoer and Washington ripped through 9.5-point underdog to Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. People thought they escaped in Seattle, and they absolutely made a statement, and they're going to the playoff for the first time since the 16 season.
Yeah, I think to the point where people assumed that Oregon was going to win that game. People felt very confident Oregon was going to win that game. And the way Washington took the field and started that game set the tone, and it never looked back from there.
And to me, the physicality of the Huskies dominated. You thought Oregon was going to be the more physical team. Washington controlled the line of scrimmage and won the game.
Okay, now remember how the committee does this. You have 6 teams in a group, then you rank them, and the top 3 are taken off the board then, and then they repeat the process. So when the rankings, the final time they went through the group phase, here's the third team that was taken off and put on the board. Who's number 3? The Texas Longhorns. Steve Sarkisian's team winning a conference championship for the first time since 2009 and making the playoff for the first time. Longhorns really haven't even been close to making the playoff, and here they are, final year of the 4-team field. Burn Orange! We assume that will put them in New Orleans. And while Washington's the second seed and will wear the home jerseys, that's going to be somewhat of an advantage from a crowd standpoint for Texas, one would think, if that is indeed how the semifinals are matched up and the sites that they have. So we have Michigan, Washington, Texas. As we said right off the top, you've got these one spot left, and you've got 4 teams with resumes. Texas now has made it into the field. Let's have a look at these remaining resumes. 3 teams, 1 spot. Alabama, Georgia, Florida State. Kirk, how should this come out in your judgment?
Alabama should be at 4.
Alabama should be
the
at 4.
The injuries to Florida State is just, you can't avoid it. It's nothing against what they accomplished. Obviously, what they accomplished is extraordinary, to be undefeated, be an ACC champion. But that injury to Jordan Travis is part of what the committee takes into consideration. If you're looking at Alabama versus Florida State, under the current team and roster, it'd be very, very hard to imagine Alabama not being there at 4.
We go back to the rankings in the unveil. Let's look now at number 6 and see who's been eliminated and see what the final decision came down to. Who's number 6? The Georgia Bulldogs. So after consecutive national championships, Georgia will not compete in the playoff, and this is also the first time that the team that was number 1 in the penultimate rankings has fallen completely out of the college football playoff field. So this leaves us with the decision that everyone thought we would end up having. Florida State or Alabama. 1 spot. Whoever's 4 plays Michigan. Number 5, heartbroken. Who's number 4? And Alabama returns to the playoff, and so we have another unprecedented situation as Florida State winds up at number 5. And Florida State is the first undefeated champion from a Power 5 conference to fail to make the field in the college football playoff era.
it is my great pleasure to announce that the 2023 Heisman Trophy winner is Jaden Daniels from Louisiana State University.
So what did I learn from all this? I learned how to block out the noise, that you could overcome any obstacle, and just be humble, be legendary, and most importantly, be joyful about what you do. And when you get knocked down, get back up, keep smiling, and never give up on your dreams. And I want to end a special thank you to Greg Brooks Jr. and his family. You gave me inspiration to continue on this journey of greatness and keep fighting. Thank you.
How about the rest of the games, week one? Some easy starts for some of these teams. Greg, what sticks out to you as you see the rest of the slate?
Well, that you called them easy starts. I mean, you can't, there's no easy starts. I mean, there's a few that's a little, okay, fair enough. It's not cupcake week, but I'll just say.
I don't want to rip on anybody here.
I'm with you. The one that would stand out would be Old Dominion at South Carolina. Old Dominion's been a little dangerous for some ACC foes in the past, so that would be one that I'd circle in trying to replace Spencer Rattler.
The other notable games, you see South Florida at Alabama. We saw Alabama go to South Florida this last year. And looking at Mississippi State versus Arizona State. Joey, anything else stick out to you?
Yeah, when you talk about South Florida and Alabama and they played this season, that was when Jalen Milroe got benched. And it was a rough outing for Alabama. And what a quarterback he's become since that game against South Florida.
We just passed it, but I mean, just a traditional ACC-SEC matchup a moment ago when Cal takes on Auburn, too. So don't sleep on that one.
And Arkansas-Oklahoma State. I think that'll be a fascinating matchup. We'll see if Arkansas is able to bounce back from a tough season this year.
They have a tough schedule again,
Yes,
and we'll
they
get
do.
to that. Okay, this is the rest of week 3, So we'll see those there. Vandy at Georgia State. And we continue our SEC football schedule reveal with the rest of week 4. Florida at Mississippi State. Tim, that one sticks out to me.
It's never been easy for Florida, but also UCLA at LSU. LSU's just playing the California schools. We'll see how they do against Cali.
There's the rest of the week 5 schedule. Kentucky at Ole
They
Miss.
just throw that in there like, oh, by the way, Georgia, Alabama's playing that weekend also. By the way.
Yeah, just right there at the bottom.
We already talked about that, okay?
Like, we're not even mentioning Oklahoma at Auburn.
There's so many good ones, and I know we're going through this fast and furious. We will talk about all
by
of
the way,
these.
Georgia plays Alabama.
What you need to look out for here. Tennessee at Arkansas. We talked about the difficulty of Arkansas' schedule. We'll dive into that a little bit more. UCF at Florida, Mizzou at A&M, Ole Miss at South Carolina, and Auburn at Georgia. That's an Auburn team that looked really good against some really top teams in Georgia and Alabama this year.
They played them so well, but also the state of Florida. Who will win the state of Florida? UCF, who's getting so much better at Florida. Florida plays all the big schools in the state. That'll also be a fascinating matchup. What a good weekend to get you a little popcorn, little soda, sit down, football all day.
Any beverage you want.
It could be something else, too. Yeah,
you look at the Texas game, though. Texas last year, before they played Alabama, they played Rice. This year, or next year, they'll be playing Oklahoma, which has always been their most emotional game. And then the very next week, they have Georgia. How many times can you get your team up emotionally to play in these big games?
And 3 big rivalry games that week, too. You get the third Saturday in October, Bama at Tennessee, always a big one. LSU at Arkansas, Battle of the Boot, and Kentucky against Florida, another big rivalry. So it's important, too, even though we're in a new era, a new frontier of college football scheduling, you have to protect matchups that matter.
We will actually show you the bracket of what the 12-team playoff would have looked like this year coming up later in the show, and we'll talk about it as it relates to next season. Go ahead, Tim.
Let's just not look past Missouri at Alabama. How good did Missouri perform this year? So many players coming back at Alabama. I was just talking to one of the best players a few days ago in the SEC, and he said the hardest team he played this year was Missouri.
What do you see here, Greg?
There's a bunch of interesting ones here. Like I said, this is when it starts to get really interesting. Kentucky and Tennessee, always a really interesting matchup for the most part. One that can kind of go either way depending on the outcome. A&M and South Carolina, two teams that I think could have some surprises this year. I think A&M's still got a good roster. I know a lot of guys are in the portal right now, and South Carolina has done a pretty good job of adding some key pieces in the portal already.
On November 16th, speaking of older rivalries renewed, Texas at Arkansas. The new members of the SEC got to go to Fayetteville.
Laura, you were there with us a few years ago when Texas came to Arkansas, and Arkansas upset them, and what an atmosphere it was. And you just kind of forget about this rivalry and a little bit of hatred between those two programs.
Oh, yeah, and at that point, it was like, hey, Texas might be on to something.
That's right.
Arkansas stomped them down. Okay, Joey, what else do you see here on November 16th?
You got Tennessee at Georgia. As some of the other teams, it looks like they're taking a break. You know, Kentucky's going to get a break. Auburn will get it. Although we did see Auburn trying to take a break this past season with New Mexico State, and that didn't go so well. And then they came the next week and played Alabama really tough. Bama gets a break there. So you see some teams in the back half of the season, they're going to get a game in there where they can breathe a little bit.
A reminder, too, that once again, we are expanding the playoffs. So at this point in the season, so much of this matters. Tim, go.
And another top team Florida's playing. They get LSU at home. What a rivalry that is. And you're just going to continue to see for the last 5 weeks of the schedule, Florida is playing great teams.
It's an opportunity. It could also be a really difficult time. Here's the non-conference of that week.
I think at this time of the season, it's going to come down to who can stay healthy.
Yeah.
Who's going to be healthy? Who's going to be ready to go at this time of the season? Once again, you'll see some teams get a breather at this time. But this is the point in the season where you're starting to look around and see how many healthy bodies can we put out on the field, and it's going to speak to the depth of your football team and how well you've recruited.
The playoff will be different, of course, because there's more teams allowed in. This is the rest of the Week 14 schedule, the SEC games at Oklahoma at LSU.
Incredible weekend. Oklahoma at LSU, Auburn at Alabama. Oh, yeah, let's just throw that out there.
Like,
that's just a normal game.
How
then
about
you got the Egg Bowl.
Levy against Kiffin in that Egg Bowl? That's going to be fun.
To be a little different, I'm going to throw out another team, and that's Arkansas. Arkansas is at Oklahoma State, at Auburn, Texas A&M, Tennessee, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, and then you finish at Missouri, who I also believe has a chance to start top 10. That's a really tough schedule for Arkansas, and they're also reloading. They need quite a few dudes to be competitive again, so they have a really tough schedule.
First of all, it was a great day for us. We're really excited about whom we got signed up today. I want to thank our recruiting department and Brian Overton and Hub and Sierra and Charlie and everybody that had Hannah, all the folks that had all G that had everything to do, and our coaching staff. We went out for needs, and we signed 11 on offense, 11 on defense, and we got a kicker out of the deal, out of the transfer portal as well. 5 offensive linemen so far. 3 of them were out of the transfer portal. 2 wide receivers, 2 quarterbacks, 1 in the portal, a running back, a tight end out of the portal. DBs, we had 6, 1 out of the portal at this point. Linebacker 3, 1 out of the portal at this point. And looks like now we're at 3 wide receivers instead of 2. Go Hogs. We got a D lineman out of high school, 2 of them that we really liked. I don't know, I got screwed up there as I was going down. I got the thumbs up on Ashton Bethel Roman. So really excited. So that puts us at 24, and we have 1 scholarship out that we're very, very hopeful that we were able to sign that young man as well. In this process, we want to make sure that we didn't reach on anybody, that we, at times last year it might have been somewhat of a little bit of a panic because of numbers, and so you're going, well, I think this guy's going to be a good player for us, all these things. We did not want to do that at all. We did not want to recruit anybody that we thought might be depth, everybody that I'm talking about out of the portal, it would be all plug and play. Obviously, they've got to earn that, but we're very, very happy with what we did out of high school. Certainly, we're going to miss every now and then on players that we offer. We are more concerned about the ones we get than the ones we lost. But overall, I thought this was an outstanding day for the Hogs. And more importantly, we're headed in the right direction at quarterback. And I'm talking about both of them. And we're headed in the right direction on the O-line. I'm talking about high school and transfers, and we're not done yet. But those were two big key areas that we wanted to try to address in recruiting, and we did. We obviously know we have the 3rd through the 7th period there that we've got some work to do. I think we have about 8 scholarships left, and so we've got to be right, because I think we only have 10 visits left, so we're close to maxed out there, but we have that, and then obviously you've got your second signing period, and then it opens back up in April. So with that, I'm really excited, guys, about what went on. I'm proud of our coaches for what they did, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
Hey, Sam, where would you like to direct what's left of the class?
Yeah, that's a good question. I still think on the defensive side, out of the portal, I think you'd need a corner, a linebacker. Obviously, I think you would need an edge and an interior. So there's 4. And then on the offensive side of the ball, I think we need another interior offensive lineman. I think we're fine at tight end. I think we're fine at quarterback. I think we need a running back out of the portal and a wide receiver. So I think that's probably pretty close to 8 right there.
It's the first chance we've had to talk to you about Eric Mateos. You obviously worked with him before. What's he going to mean maybe to the program?
I love him. First of all, he's a wonderful person, a hard worker, obviously proven. Went to Texas State, went to LSU after here, obviously coached some tight ends at some point in that career. Went to Texas State. Then BYU had one of the top lines in the country in the Joe Moore Award candidates. Went to Baylor, same thing down there. Coached several NFL offensive linemen. I think he's got 4 or 5 guys he's had his hands on that are starting in the NFL right now at center. And he's just a wonderful man. The thing I like most about him is that he wanted to be here. When I called him, it was absolutely had and wonderful family, and I'm just real proud that he's come. We've already seen some of the great work that he's done at the center position in the portal. He kept the 2 linemen. Obviously, we love Kobe Branham, and we like and Zuri. We kept those 2, and then went out and got whom we think is a super player in Junior Carmona, and certainly Addison Nichols. Those 2 he got already, but just a wonderful man that knows how to motivate, knows how to coach.
Coach, what can you say about Braylon Russell? What's expectations for him?
Bobby and I were sitting in there watching his tape, and we think he can play right now. He's got the size, the physicality, loves the state of Arkansas, the university, great parents. But I tell you, he's got the size and the physicality. He's really, really improved, in my opinion, over the last year. Didn't have to have his statistics may not be world beaters because they didn't have to use him. They had a really good ball club, and but I think he has a chance to play for us this year.
What can you say? I guess Ashton went official since you came in, or since?
Yeah, we won a golf cart, and I just needed a thumbs up. If
just talk about him, what he brings to that wide receiver room.
Speed, great kid, great family, but speed, and I think he ran 21.3 or something like that in the 200 meters, whatever it was, something close to that.
Hey, Coach, you touched on him a little bit, but I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit more about some of the offensive line transfer additions, where they might fit in starting out, Carmona, Blackstock, and Nichols, and if you're planning on adding any more.
We are going to add some more. We need them. Now listen, you know what I'm getting ready to say. This has nothing to do with what we have. We were young. I mean, you look at Chamblee and Harris, and I mean, you can go down Kudus, you know. Those guys are going to be really good players for us. They got thrown out there, and that was we need to do a little bit better recruiting in the years prior to that. But we had a problem of older, bigger, more ready guys, which these guys I just talked about might be over the weight room and over the summer. But we went in first trying to find tackles. I mean, that was our biggest thing. We felt like we hit big time on Blackstock early, maybe 4 weeks ago, whatever that was. And then when Eric got the job, he found Carmona, and man, he's a great kid, big. He's very, very aggressive. Only played football. I think he played tight end maybe a year or something. They moved him to tackle. But he's to me, he's us, him and Blackstock. He's, chip on his shoulder, aggressive, the old Dan Skipper, Travis Swanson, Ragnow, Tortola, that type group, and Bray's, if I don't mention Bray Cook, he'll be mad at me. But those type guys. And then we needed a center, and obviously we're very happy we have Wiggins here, and he's going to develop as well, and it's going to be a heck of a battle in there and all those things. But Addison Nichols, I worked out when I was at Georgia. I offered him that day. Very, very, very talented. But we needed someone that snapped the ball. And whether that be a guard center or center guard, however you look at it, we need somebody that could definitely snap the ball. He'll come in, we'll look at him at center to begin. Those three places were where we wanted to go immediately. The next guy we want to go after is a guard that has the capabilities of snapping the football. And so we're going to go there. We may go two more, but we're definitely going to go one more.
So you've got you at 77 scholarships, I guess, if nothing changes from now to August. I've got you at like more 84, 85, but I can only go on players who haven't said anything yet.
Yeah.
Is that maybe some super seniors that aren't taking advantage of that last year? Or?
Well, that would be one of them. Super seniors, you have to ask to come back. They're through with their degree and things of that nature. So there may be something in there, Trey. The other thing would be, we may have some guys graduating earlier than what we thought. Would be one or two, and then maybe a medical, something of that nature might be involved in all those 8 that I'm getting at, where you're a little bit different.
If you're at 77 right now.
77.
You said you had
maybe 78, depending on what happens with the scholarship that we have out.
Coach, with Arkansas Edge in place, I'm wondering if you've noticed if it's benefited you at all with this transfer portal cycle yet.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, it didn't benefit me a lot when it was announced the day that I was going through our team, when I was talking to all our team, because it came out and they were going like, oh, we got all this extra money and all this kind of stuff. But, yes, it certainly has, and we're certainly grateful for all those that gave to that. We needed it. We're using it wisely in the NIL department, but absolutely.
And I wanted to ask you, you said Nichols at Georgia, you offered him the first day you saw him. Why?
I think he might have been a sophomore, if I'm remembering right. Freshman or sophomore. Very, very athletic. Very athletic. Now, I'll tell you, I thought he was going to be a college tackle. And I'll be honest with you, when I was at Georgia, we'd get not everybody, but, almost whoever we wanted. So in my mind, I was very particular of whom we would offer. And I offered him as a tackle. He had that kind of ability, that kind of length. And then I obviously watched a lot of tape on Tennessee and things, and didn't play a lot of center there, but did play some center in practice and things of that nature. And I just think he's a very, very gifted athlete. That is, I guess that's the word. He's an athlete, big, and he's athlete, really, really, really precise with his hands. And I really liked him. We were doing one-on-ones when he was just a kid, and I mean, he was winning every rep and doing it looked almost effortlessly.
I wanted to ask you about Charleston Collins. It seemed like for a while there that him and Courtney Crutchfield would be a pair, but Crutchfield goes to Missouri, Collins stays with you guys. Just your thoughts on him being loyal to you guys.
Well, I mean, guys, let's face the facts. You know, with our year that we had, it affected a lot of things. And with our kids in a state that stayed with us, with all the noise going on around the program, I mean, that's big time for loyalty. And because we didn't sign anybody that didn't have several offers from the state of Arkansas everywhere else. And with Charlie, he probably was as top of that. Him, Wyatt Simmons had a tremendous amount, you know, Braylon, all these guys. And to stay here, it just proves that they're going to be really damn good Hogs because they wanted to be here. And with Charlie staying with us, that was special. Him and the other four as well, the other four besides him.
Coach, going back to Ashton Bethel Roman, I know you said what he brings to the table, but you know he had visited a couple other schools here down the stretch. Just what's the key to keeping a guy locked in like that when he's obviously exploring his other options?
Well, it's hard. I mean, Kenny obviously did a nice job with the family, and our relationships helped us. Bobby, I think, has done a tremendous job of getting to know him since he's been here. Bobby met with him, well, I'm pretty sure we all did, about an hour a day over the last few days. But Bobby did a tremendous job with him as well of showing him why he wants to use him, how he's going to use him. But I think it goes back to say a lot about the young man. He wanted to come to Arkansas, and the parents allowing him, you know, to make the choice of whatever his choice was.
And it wasn't until this past weekend that KJ Jefferson announced he was going in the portal. Was that something you kind of knew was coming, and did that knowledge maybe help you when you went out looking in the portal for a guy to bring in?
Yeah, I mean, it was basically whenever we had our exit meeting, it was, you know, we knew that he was going to go explore other colleges, and we certainly were happy that he spent his years with us and what he did with us. But that was kind of understood. That's what he was going to do.
And also, you mentioned the in-state guys that you got the loyalty and everything. Just how would you assess your in-state recruiting this year as a whole?
Well, I mean, there's obviously every year, if you don't get them all, you're disappointed. But at the same time, we had done such a nice job in our recruiting department of having others ready. You know, we wanted to stay as loyal as possible to the kids from the state, so sometimes you're not going to get them all, and it's disappointing because we feel like for their life and for their career and for their passion, they help us win. But at the same time, we have to make decisions, and I'm not telling you we're always right in those things, but we have to make decisions, we make them, and then we worry about the ones that are here and not the ones that aren't. We don't worry about that.
Coach, you talked about Simmons a little bit, but talk about Sorey, Simmons, and Logan, those linebackers.
Well, Wyatt, let's start with him. Very, 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 very aggressive. Daddy obviously is a great coach. Won the Natty, you know, there at Harding University, and honestly, the last two games weren't close, you know. So, man, what a great team they had, and congratulations there to Paul and his coaching staff. But Wyatt comes from obviously a father background of coaching, very, very physical, can run, Played a little bit of everything. Played tight end, played running back, but he's a linebacker. He's a Mike linebacker to me. He can play Willie too, but he's a guy that go sick him, go after the football. Logan was a guy that wasn't quite as highly recruited as those guys, but we really liked his size and his, T. Will kind of went after him. That was his guy that he goes, he knew a little bit about him and things of that nature, character-wise. Great kid. And then Sorey is an athlete, a guy that can run side to side. We'll turn him loose and see what happens, but he was used primarily there more in his career as a pass rusher.
You talk a little bit about the two quarterbacks also.
Well, when we had K.J. Jackson committed, and then Bobby goes, and I said, some of the first things we did is look at who we're recruiting because it's now, Then we went back and saw who we have on the team, and Coach and I have spent a lot of time watching film together, whether it be the ones we have or the recruits we're trying to get. And when he saw K.J. Jackson, he said, man, this guy he's athletic, he's smooth, he's got a quick release, he's very accurate. And I said, well, if you like the tape, you're going to love the kid. And then we went on a home visit, and what a wonderful family. And, he's 6'5". He's a big man, and that can run and has a very, very strong arm. And Talon, we had about probably 5 guys that we were on for quarterbacks in the portal. Bobby and I both wanted Talon Green. That's the guy that we decided to go after. Fortunately, we went after him. Obviously, I think we've all know about his game that he had, in the championship there. He's what we're looking for athletically. He's kind of, KJ and him are similar. They're both, talking about KJ Jackson and him are very similar. They throw the football and they can run the football. But I love his leadership. The quarterback's job is, in my opinion, is make everybody around him, including the defense, better. I think he has that leadership. He's got that, that aura about him. That I think he's going to really make everybody around him a better football player.
Yes, Sam, I know you touched on some of these in-state signings already, but from what I read, Collins was the highest-ranked guy. What do you like about him, and just what do you think about the group as a whole, what they bring to you?
Charlie really brings a long, athletic guy who loves to play the game. We talked a little bit about Wyatt Simmons. We talked a little bit about Braylon. Kobe Branham, I love him now. I love big, athletic guys. Love his family. But I tell you what, I think he's going to be really special. I think Kim Dammer and that group over there did a really good job with him. And then C.J. Brown. He's local. He did a little bit of everything for his team. He's a great athlete, faster than what I thought at first. Even, but he catches everything. The one thing is he's tough. Comes from an athletic family. Both his sisters are athletic. Daddy was, and so they can't say enough about him at the school. The type person that he is, and of course, obviously they got beaten in the state championship, but at one point they'd lost a lot of they'd lost 3 in a row, and it was great coaching, but it also was leadership, and I think it was a lot was what CJ did on the team, and so those are the guys, and we're really, really happy we've got them all.
I know you obviously don't have to be a great player. Your dad doesn't have to have been a coach, but the fact that Simmons' dad is a coach, how big a plus is that?
Well, I think it's a plus on any time you can get a guy that comes from education, a coaching background, whatever that may be, because probably they've been coached harder than anybody else on the team if their dad was their coach. Now, I know Paul and Wyatt's story is different, because Paul was coaching, obviously, at the college. But the knowledge and you seem to have a guy that if their parents are coaches that maybe come in a little ahead of the game mentally because they lived in a home and talked about it over supper all the time.
Coach, you mentioned Cross Johnson earlier just a little bit. I mean, what went into getting him?
Yeah, good question. Bobby had brought him to me. Bobby knew about him. I did not. And Bobby knew about him, and he, I don't know how much tape that we've watched, but a whole bunch. Portal, high school, whatever it may be. It seems like every day you're either in a home or you're watching tape, and like Brian and his group did a great job of getting that to us. But again, we were just seeing if there was somebody out there in case we'd lost somebody. And as you know, Ashton Bethel Roman just signed right before we got in here, so there was question marks on some of those guys in the wide receiver room. And I knew we could go in the portal, but we needed some young guys too, so he was spectacular on film. He's not the biggest guy, he's about 175 pounds. But what he can do, how he can catch, and how he can run. He runs 10.5, but he runs 10.5, if that makes sense, on the field. He had a really electric tape. And so I said, I want to go on him if we have an available, because I did want to save the other scholarship for an older portal guy. And we had that available, and we made the call yesterday.
And then we talked with Deion Stutz's family a little bit. Seems like you've really been helping them out since.
Yeah, I hope so.
But just could you talk about him a little bit?
Yeah, just a wonderful kid. Loved the outdoors. Lived on a ranch, not a farm. I made that mistake. No, I didn't. Like everybody kept saying, "Don't you say farm?" And but loved the four-wheelers, loved the outdoors, and a very athletic kid. I thought his future on the field was super bright because he was a worker. He drove an hour one way to school, and wonderful family, and if we all knew where he was, we'd be probably fighting to get there. So we talk about that often.
You haven't really had a quarterback battle since you've been. It was kind of just moved right into KJ.
Yeah.
And when Bobby was here before, it was, Casey, then Ryan, and, it was all kind of assumed the next guy. So
yeah.
I know you like the two-spot and stuff, but that might change a little bit. How do you plan on running that?
Well, we've got to get the most reps so Bobby can see them, live. So we probably will start early in some two-spotting. Two-spotting can be, it doesn't have to be, let's say this, Trey, it doesn't have to be ones and freshmen and twos and threes. It can be ones and whoever you want to look at, on this field. So we may or may not do that, but I'm assuming it's helped us in the past. I'm assuming we will, but obviously that battles, we've got three guys there in a battle, and then KJ will get in and he'll jump right in the middle of it too. So each guy has to earn what they get. But we have to give them opportunity to do that as well. So we've got to figure all that out. We haven't quite talked about that. I don't even know if Bobby knows that we two-spot or not yet.
I don't think we've asked. Well, I know we hadn't asked you about the schedule at all. You know who you're going to play, but you don't know the order of it. What are your thoughts on how the schedule?
Yeah, I like the schedule. I know we have. I believe it's LSU, Tennessee, Texas, and somebody else here. Ole Miss at home. I know that in the league, and certainly that's a big deal. I know we go to Oklahoma State will be obviously a tough task, but I'm really excited about the 16 teams and the way they did it. I think it's fair. I think our schedule's fair. It's obviously tough because it's in the SEC, but I like where we're at. I like the two byes, Trey. I like the two byes. I think we always play well after a bye. Well, we have. And I like those two byes in there. We're starting a little earlier, the 31st of August, but over in Little Rock. But I like the schedule.
Sam, Juju Pope, where do you, I think I've seen him
Yeah.
listed as a linebacker. I think you got him listed as a DB online. Just where do you envision him playing?
But he's really an athlete, and here's what happened with Juju. We watched his tape, and we were doing the same thing. We were going, where are we going to play this kid? We're going to play him at hog. We're going to play him at linebacker. We're going to play him at running back. And so what I said was, look, if we can sign 20 guys better than him, I don't think we can. And so I said, let's take him, and then we'll figure out where we're going to play him when he gets here. On our depth chart right now, he's a hog. So we'll see, but we know he could play running back. We know he could probably play a safety, and I think he might could play a Willie linebacker as well, or a box linebacker. But we'll just wait and see. But we took him because I didn't think we could sign 20 guys better than him.
I know you've got Bobby as your offensive coordinator, now Coach Mateos at offensive line. Do you anticipate any other staff changes potentially this offseason?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
That's one of those. Yeah, Coach, Tavion Henderson was the first kid that committed to you in this class. He stayed with you the whole time. You was talking about loyalty earlier, but talk about Henderson. I mean, that's a lot of loyalty.
If you look down here, guys, and I'll get with that. It's a good question. A lot of times you get in here and you're pushing. I think he's going to do something, but you might be the only one thinking he's going to do that. You look down this list. There's multiple people that want the guys that we got, and he's one of them. I mean, he came from Alabama. He had both state schools offer him, want him. He stayed with us. I think it has something to do with his grandma. It has something to do with him, his coach, and Deke Adams. I think all those guys did a good job, but none of those other people would have a hold to stay loyal to us, especially the way our season went, if he didn't want to. And so just a wonderful kid, really good player, and we're a great person, and we're just really pleased and happy and honored that he stayed with us.
Thanks, Coach. Let's move on to Arkansas. Sam Pittman in his 5th season, looking at the number 26 overall class, their top signee, a corner, number 69 in ESPN's 300, Selman Bridges. They're looking for their 4th consecutive top 25 class, and a lot of areas to address when you look at this Arkansas team that in 2023 didn't quite meet the expectations that everyone had for them, but in so many games, they were pretty darn close. How does Selman Bridges potentially help bolster that defense in 24?
Well, we were just talking about the importance of corners. So they went into Texas and got a corner in Selman Bridges. And this is the thing that stands out to me. He's 6'3". He's got tremendous length, but he also blends that length with excellent speed. And coming out of high school, he played on the same high school team as one of those 5-star receivers in the 2024 class that wound up going to Texas Tech. So he's used to working against an elite receiver every day in practice. And this is it. This type of length and speed combination is not easy to find. You're going to see in that top right-hand corner as he returns his pick six. Watch the speed that's going. Be able to measure. He's going to get over 21 miles per hour at his top speed. That is rolling for a corner that is 6'3". So they'll be able to roll in to have that size and that length to be able to kind of compete with those taller receivers, and then also have that makeup speed or that speed to create a big play like there. That could certainly be helpful.
I love it. And then if it also with that type of size and ability, if it doesn't work at corner because maybe his hips are a little bit tighter, I can always move him to safety or have him do other things. So the versatility and the depth because of the size that it allows you to do, I'm all about it because Coach T. Will, Travis Williams had the defense flying around last year. They improved tremendously on that side of the football.
They certainly became a strength in some of those close games down the stretch.
I saw Shane Beamer pounding the table yesterday, and he really got very little to say after this season. But what did he add in the portal, or what will he add in the portal, and what did he get on National Signing Day?
Yeah, signing day was a top 20 class for South Carolina, but in the SEC, a top 20 class is good enough for 10th in the league. So South Carolina is still trying to get over that hump and sign these top 15, top 10 classes you need to, go from the 8-4, 9-3s to the 11-1s. Gamecocks haven't done that yet, but they do got a 5-star edge in Dylan Stewart. I think he's going to be a day one impact guy. They signed 2 really good offensive linemen. We know that there were some struggles up front there. And then in the portal, they got Rocket Sanders, a 1,400-yard running back out of Arkansas 2 years ago. If he's returned well from injury and they can block for him, I think South Carolina's running back room is light years better than it was this season.
Right, you mentioned Arkansas. Nobody ended the season more haphazardly than Sam Pittman. The biggest acquisition wasn't on National Signing Day. It was Bobby Petrino. But he doesn't have a lot of time, does he?
He does not, and he has to hope that Boise State transfer Taylon Green is a difference maker at that quarterback position. I love Bobby Petrino. He's a good play caller. He has shown that, he's had success in the SEC. I think he can have success in Fayetteville, but he's got to put playmakers around Taylon. He's got to have a better offensive line. Sam Pittman, he's an offensive line guru, but that line, Paul, last couple of years has not looked good. He also hired a new O-line coach there, Eric Mateo. So I think Arkansas can challenge for a bowl next season, but it's going to be hard to get to that 8-9 win range that Arkansas fans expect.